I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey, you guys, happy Thursday. Welcome back to the News du Jour. Really quick, before we jump into today's episode, if you have missed us and realized, oh my God, I'm so glad News du Jour is back. This puts a pep in my step. This helps me stay in touch with what's going on in the world. Tell one person about our podcast and get them to subscribe and start listening. If everyone did that, our audience size would double, and the amount of people that we were able to help stay better informed would double. So just one person, that's all I'm asking. And if you had time to rate us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice, that would be huge as well to help us, again, reach more people who need this space. So that's all I'm going to ask. And without further ado, I will go ahead and jump into today's news. So first up, we're discussing Steve Bannon and some new charges. So Steve Bannon was one of Trump's sort of inner circle, and he was pardoned way back when by President Trump for financial crimes. But now he is expected to surrender himself today to the New York State to face mysterious sealed charges. He's already come out calling these charges phony, quote unquote, but we don't know much more about them beyond that. His original charges, the ones that Trump pardoned, had to do with a GoFundMe account set up by him and a few other men to raise money for a border wall. The GoFundMe raised about $25 million, and at least $1 million of that went towards personal expenses for Mr. Bannon, not towards the wall. Think things like cars, jewelry, golf carts, credit card bills, hotels, and the like. The 3 men who helped him raise the funds were also charged in connection to the GoFundMe account. Right now, it is unclear if Bannon's new charges are also related back to this original incident with the GoFundMe or if they're about something else entirely. But if we find out, we will be sure to let you know. Next up for today, though, Juul settles a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So the vaping company Juul has now settled a ginormous lawsuit involving 33 states for approximately $438.5 million. If you remember, we have talked about them a lot on this podcast. They're the ones who essentially seemed to be marketing their vapes to children with colorful packaging, candy-like flavors, and they focused their marketing efforts on social media and put the vapes in stores where kids could more easily get their hands on them, like drugstores. Juul denies that they were intentionally marketing to children, but in retrospect, their actions definitely led to the current vaping epidemic that we are seeing amongst youth today. 45% of their Twitter followers are ages 13 to 17. So whether or not that was the demographic they were targeting, that's certainly who they attracted. Originally, you see, vapes were an attempt to kind of get people away from the dangers of smoking, but it turns out that vapes can be just as addictive, if not more, and cause health problems all of their own. If you want to go down the rabbit hole on the subject of vapes, I highly recommend the podcast, The Vaping Fix, for a lot more information. It's binge-worthy, I swear. Anywho, the parents of children addicted to vaping have been leading the fight against Juul and helped secure this enormous settlement in court. Now, these millions of dollars will actually be doled out amongst all those states, and the funds will largely be used to help people quit both vaping and smoking. Juul's value as a company has gone down drastically in recent years due to the word kind of spreading about this teen addiction to their products. It's just not a good look. The FDA is even considering taking vapes off the market altogether. They were actually granted the authority to do so by Congress back in March. But they're really taking their time to assess the situation and all the ramifications of such a radical decision and making sure, of course, that it would stand up in court. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. And again, I highly recommend the Vaping Fix podcast. And next up, making lemonade out of lemons. Maren Morris raises over $100,000 for trans youth after being insulted by a Fox News pundit. Okay, so this whole situation is a bit of finger pointing, he said, she said situation. So bear with me as I try to recount it. But recently, Maren Morris came out condemning transphobic remarks made by Jason Aldean's wife. Okay? Maren Morris condemned transphobic remarks made by Jason Aldean's wife. Then in turn, Tucker Carlson took to Fox News to condemn Maren for condemning Jason Aldean's wife's transphobic comments, if that all makes sense. Tucker called Maren a, quote, lunatic country person, end quote. And so Maren decided to take that and turn it around and turn it into dollars, actually. She went and made t-shirts that read, Maren Morris, lunatic country person, and started referring to her fans as her little lunatics. And they ended up buying $100,000 worth of that merchandise, and she donated all the proceeds to Trans Lifeline and the transgender media program at GLAAD. Trans Lifeline tweeted at Maren, quote, Maren, huge thanks for your support of a world where trans people have all that we need to survive and thrive, end quote. So I thought that was touching and just sort of, a good way to sort of take something negative that had happened and turn it around into something positive. So for our last little mini story, Mara Hawley is a Democrat who is running for governor of Massachusetts, and she is set to potentially make history as the first openly lesbian or gay governor in the state's history. She's running against a far-right Republican endorsed by former President Trump, but if she should win, history would be made. So I wanted to put that race on your radar as we head towards the midterms. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, people who get good at making excuses rarely get good at anything else. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfree media today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen,
Share on your social media. You have influence. Tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.